Thank you very much. Joe entitles this session Beyond 2016 and gives us 10 minutes to reflect on how we can build a better republic. His first statement is, no one could deny that in 100 years we have come a long way. Some would suggest it has been a tortuous way. In 1916, Ireland was one of the most prosperous countries in Europe, more prosperous than any of the Scandinavian countries. And I think we spent the first half century torturing ourselves and transforming it in a fairly poor and miserable place. And we have spent the second half of the century trying to claw our way out, making periodic success and falling back again. We are, in 2016, approximately where we were, in relative terms, in 1916. But he does go on and say, how might we build a better republic? So I want to suggest to you, if is this time being counted now?
No. Dr. Walsh has been officially paused.
There you are. Sorry, the plug had come out a little.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to suggest to you that the quality of governance cannot exceed the quality of those who govern. And other countries in Europe have gone to great extent to ensure that those who govern them are smart and capable people. Now, the best way to answer the question, how do we create a better republic, and to look around and look for other small countries that have done a damn good job at that. And I happened in 1989 to be a guest of the Communist Party in a place called Tartu in Estonia, just 17 days after that happened. It was a depressed, hungry place. Even though I was visiting the rector of the University of Tartu to sign an agreement with him between the University of Limerick and the University of Tartu at the request of one Chuck Feeney, whom one couldn't refuse, one of the great philanthropists. This was what was happening outside the doors of the university, shops, and struggling out onto the streets were hungry people attempting to get what was vital for life. They had their revolution. 2 million people in 1989 held hands along 600 kilometers of road from Vilnius to Riga to Tallinn. That was their revolution. If I were a citizen of Estonia, I would be proud of that. I'm a little embarrassed about our own. In 1991, the Russians left. And it so happened we were sailing from Helsinki to Tallinn and along the Estonian coast. One of the greatest intense fortifications in the Eastern Baltic for the Soviet Union, abandoned submarine bases and military bases we visited. But we also were surprised to visit these empty fish factories with the machinery missing and boats abandoned. Not only had the Russians left in 1991, but they had taken the vital parts of the infrastructure so that they could no longer fish a hungry people. 1991, it's not that long ago. And in fact, we had our own experience. We were trying to make landfall in Tallinn at night, and the Russians had gone off with a bulb from the lighthouse. So that's the kind of country they were faced with 25 years ago. The first Prime Minister was this guy, 32 years old. They didn't adopt the Irish electoral system because they wanted to elect some of the smartest people in Estonia. They adopted the list system used in Sweden and Norway and Switzerland and other places. And this guy was a smart cookie. In 24 months, remember the backdrop he had. Privatise most of national industry, abolish tariffs, abolish subsidies, introduced a flat tax, 26% for everyone above a certain level, encourage people to go to work, balance the budget, peg the currency to the Deutschmark, and prepared for EU membership. 24 months. This guy came along some years later, and he was responsible for building on the work of the first Prime Minister. The GDP per capita was multiplied by 19, a factor of 19. Unemployment dropped below 7%. Balance of payments sorted. And the lowest debt level in Europe. This guy was a scientist, an engineer, a business leader, a proven member of society, a household name. He came in just 1 year in Parliament, he was made Prime Minister. And now he is in Brussels, he's Vice President of the Commission for the Digital Single Market. So they picked not Joe Soaps from the parish pump, but the smartest guys they could find. Now, Europe, here, Estonia is now an example of Europe's most joined-up digital administration. Each citizen has an encrypted digital signature. Public sector, you see it there, is streamlined and lean. Health is reformed. Each citizen has a little card, and all your medical records are on it, and no one asks you silly questions when you go into a hospital. In fact, there is a government regulation that the public sector must never ask a citizen more than once for the same information. And each citizen's records can be viewed whenever you wish to see what's on the record and changed if you're not happy with it. Company formation can be undertaken and you can be trading in 25 minutes after you start. Digital property conveyancing takes hours, days, and you can actually vote from your smartphone. So, can you imagine what has been done in Estonia in this short time? And we're lumbering around talking to ourselves. Now, while these people were doing this kind of a job, here this man took over a country which was in reasonably good shape after Quinn as Minister for Finance and Reynolds. It was the fourth most competitive country in the world with the lowest debt after Luxembourg. And he transformed it, yes he did. And followed by this gentleman. These are parish pump people. They're very well-intentioned people, but they're not people who are suited to run a country. We are fortunate. We have a wonderful Prime Minister here, but that was potluck, and a good Minister for Finance. Thanks be to God. But under our existing STV electoral system, we can get more of these kind of guys. Who did this to the country? Estonia's debt, Ireland's debt. Wastefulness of government spending, Ireland, Estonia. Burden of government regulation, Estonia and Ireland. What's this map? Why is Ireland the only blue country in Europe? Because, apart from Malta, which you can't see, we're the only country in Europe with this stupid STV system, where we have 100% of our parliamentarians from the parish pump. Other sensible countries have the list system, where half the members are parish pump people, and the other half are the smartest guys that they can find. Parties draw up lists, they compete with each other for household names, and some of the guys that have been speaking to during the week would be running this country if we had the list system. New Zealand made the choice in 1992 to change to the list system that all these green countries have, and it hasn't looked back. So the single most important thing we can do, and it costs nothing, is to introduce the list system. How in God's name do we do it? Because our existing politicians are elected by the parish pump system. Answer, reform of the Seanad. You couldn't think of a dafter arrangement. So if the citizens were asked to vote for something different, they would all say, yes, please. So let's introduce the list system into the Seanad, try it out there, and in time, perhaps, it would move onwards. So, there you are. Is that a record?